The topic of today's presentation is a product overview and installation guide for CommScope's Mini-OTE 300 optical terminal enclosure. We will review the Mini-OTE's features, capacities, and operation, as well as provide best practice instruction for fiber cable preparation and installation into the Mini-OTE. The Mini-OTE is a small, highly versatile closure that offers optical splicing capability, fiber storage, and up to 12 hardened network access ports. The hardened ports are available in either DLX format or the industry standard OptiTap format. The closure is Telcordia GR771 core certified and can be mounted on aerial strand, ground pedestals, utility poles, or below ground vaults. Internally, the Mini-OTE houses a white fiber management organizer tray that has 2 fiber splice trays and 1 feed-through tray for express fibers in the accessed buffer tube. Underneath the organizer tray is the expressed buffer tube storage area. Each fiber splicing tray can accommodate up to 20 fusion splices or 40 total splices per closure. When incorporating optical splitters or other passive modules, the overall splice capacity will decrease. The Mini-OTE has 5 fiber feeder cable entry-exit ports, 1 at the top left for inline express installations, 2 bottom ports on the left and right sides for butt express installations, and 2 branch distribution ports located between the primary entry-exit ports. These ports are designed to accommodate any fiber cable up to a 1/2 inch in diameter. With minor modifications, a larger cable size up to 14 millimeters may be used. A ground wire feed-through port is located at the bottom right of the OTE 300. This port will accommodate number 6 gauge solid ground wire. The cable entry and exit ports of the Mini-OTE can be modified to accommodate larger size cables up to 14 millimeter. To modify the cable entrances to accept the larger cable sizes, clip off the ring strip positioned on the outer side of the gel seal cable entry. Remove the lower ring strip and cut only the ring strip on the port that the larger cables will enter into. Reinsert the ring strip back into the gel seal of the Mini-OTE. The Mini-OTE can be either strand or pedestal mounted to fit the network design criteria. In pedestal mount applications, the feeding cable enters the bottom feeder ports on the left or right side, passes through the splicing storage area, and exits through the bottom opposite side feeder port. The cable then is passed on down the line to the next OTE location. For aerial installation, the Mini-OTE can be horizontally mounted on the strand. The horizontal strand mount installation differs as the feeder cable is placed through the bottom left or right feeder port, passes through the splicing storage area, and exits through the feeder port on the top of the OTE. Additional clearance between the strand and the Mini-OTE housing can be gained using the optional adjustable strand mount bracket. The following accessories are shipped with each Mini-OTE: 5 cable retention clamps, 6 hex bolts for cable retention assembly, 1 inline ground bonding bar, cable ties, 2 perforated foil pieces, 5 gel port plugs, grommets for micro buffer, standard loose tube, and ribbon cables, 2 feet of spiral wrap, 30 45 millimeter splice protection sleeves, strand and pedestal mount hardware, and additional splice sleeve holder. The following supplementary kits are also available: cable retention clamps, strand mount clamps, pole mount kits, and adjustable strand mount clamps. The tools necessary to complete a Mini-OTE installation include a can wrench, razor knife, fiber scissors, flexible measuring tape, colored Sharpie marker or colored marking tape, flat blade screwdriver, buffer tube cutter, and buffer tube slitter. For mid-sheath cable preparation, 56 inches of exposed buffer tube is required for installation. Remove approximately 18 to 24 inches of the outer jacket. Locate the crossover center point. Measure 28 inches to either side of the crossover center point. Remove outer jacket, armor tape, moisture blocking tape, binder yarns, and any filler tubes. If performing a direct cable entry installation into the Mini-OTE, measure and mark the cable 56 inches from the stub end of the cable. There is no need to find the crossover point in the cable. Remove outer jacket, armor tape, moisture blocking tape, binder yarns, and any filler tubes. Cut the strength member at a length of 1 3/4 inches from the end of the sheath opening. Repeat this process at the other cable end. For cable with armored shielding, remove a section of the outer sheath 180 degrees around the cable by 1 inch in length, measured from the end of the cable jacket. Once the cable has been prepared, install a cable retention bracket on each end of the cable opening. Open the hose clamp to allow insertion of the cable into the retention bracket. Place cable retention assembly around cable. Orient the sheath opening toward the base of the retention bracket while inserting the strength member into the lug. Tighten the strength member retention screw. Next, locate the small perforated aluminum square in the accessories pack and cut into 2 equal-sized pieces. Place the perforated aluminum piece between the cable's outer jacket and hose clamp. To ease its installation, the perforated piece may need to be rounded slightly. Tighten the hose clamp while being careful not to crush the cable. When placing the fiber cable into the Mini-OTE, it is advisable to route the input or feeding side buffer tube onto the right-hand side fiber routing slot. For butt entry pedestal installations, the bottom right side port is preferred for the feeder input. For inline or strand mount installations, the top port or bottom left port is preferred for the feeder input. When done this way, the fibers to be spliced will coil counterclockwise in the upper splice tray and not require a route reversal in order to lay correctly into the splice holders. Before installing the cable into the closure, remove the internal white organizer tray. Press the tabs on either side of the organizer tray, lift, and roll it to the left. Avoid pulling up on the assembly and pulling out the pre-installed 900 micron fibers. Next, place the cable retention clamps into the selected cable entry ports. The clamp should seat with an audible click. Using the slotted hex head bolts, fasten all cable retention brackets to the ground plate. Separate the buffer tube that you will be splicing out of the buffer tube bundle. Coil and store the express buffer tubes into the buffer tube storage area. Use the flip and fold method shown here. Start with about a 3-inch diameter loop and then flip and fold the cable down into the express buffer tube storage area. Secure the express buffer tubes with tie wraps. Reinstall the organizer tray into the bottom of the closure. You will hear a click when the tray is locked into the closure base. Lay the buffer tubes into the routing trays and mark the tube with a Sharpie at a point approximately 1 inch from beyond the grommet. Using a buffer tube slitting tool, slit the buffer tube from one mark to the other mark and remove the buffer tube. In cases of gel-filled cable, make sure to clean the fibers thoroughly with alcohol wipes. In cases of dry fiber cables, make sure to check for and remove any moisture blocking string. Insert the buffer tubes into the routing tray. Sliding grommet to align with the retaining groove in the routing tray. Secure with cable ties. Make sure that the right side cable tie faces downward so as not to interfere with the closure body. Pull down the feed-through tray. Select the fibers to be spliced. Cut at the midpoint of the fiber loop. Set aside. Route express fibers and fibers cut dead to the field to the feed-through tray. Remove 900 micron fibers from the splice tray. Route the fibers to be spliced to the top tray by laying the incoming fibers into the splice tray in a counterclockwise rotation. Replace 900 micron fiber and test fit into splice sleeve holder. Splice per standard practice. Replace dust cover on tray after splicing. For armored cable applications, connect solid number 6 ground wire by securing to ground bus with a slotted hex nut. Route through ground wire port. Install port plugs into all unused ports, including ground port if no ground wire is being used. Ensure all port plugs are properly aligned. The larger flange is oriented to the inside of the Mini-OTE. The larger plugs fill any unused feeder or branch ports. The smaller round port sealing plug is used to fill an unused ground wire port. Before closing the lid, ensure that the black braided tubing will not be pinched when sealing the closure. To seal the Mini-OTE, snap the right side hinge, left side hinge, then top hinge. Lastly, tighten the security bolt with a can wrench. When properly closed and sealed, the gel seal will be slightly visible around all port sealing plugs and cable entry points.